Hey everyone, welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden. In this episode, we're going to be talking about another Biden failure that they're trying to dress up as a victory. And this is a play where I think we can expect this a lot over the next 3 years. I know it's felt like we've been under the Biden presidency for like a fucking decade, but the bad news is we're only a year in. There's at least 3 more years of this shit. So this really sucks, but I want you guys to recognize patterns along the way so that we can diffuse all the propaganda as it comes at us, and maybe we'll get something that we want. Now, some people will argue that the student loan repayments that we're going to restart at the beginning of February being moved to May 1st by Joe Biden is a victory, that we have actually pushed him left. Not really, but you're right. I do think that constant pressure is needed to push Joe Biden to do the right thing. Now, the thing is, he didn't do the right thing. He's trying to dress up something that he did as something that is monumental, that the pressure that was on him actually accomplished something, which basically, no, it just extended the timer on the countdown on the bomb. That's all that happened. You lengthened the amount of time until the powder keg goes up. So let's talk briefly about what he actually did, how it's not a victory, but then I want you to see big picture here, guys, what we're up against for the next 3 years. God, 3 more years of Biden. But we know what we need to do, and I've already briefly articulated this in other episodes. We need to focus on executive orders, and student loans being forgiven is one of those things that he can do by himself. And if we keep pushing him, maybe we will get $10,000 or $50,000 forgiven. That does nothing for me. I owe $300,000 because of my doctorate. But for a lot of people out there, that might forgive all or most of their student loans. And I don't really give a shit about me personally. If it helps millions of people out there, we need to fight for those things. It's weird that there are a lot of people out there that like me, that have a lot of student loans that like, oh, well, if he's not going to forgive it all, then it's not really worth fighting for. Or conversely, the people that already paid off their student loans, that are like the boomers, that are like, I already paid off my 7.5 cents worth of student loans, so I think you should have to pay off all of your tens of thousands of student loans for the exact same degree. I don't agree with that either. It's one of those things where let's agree that it's good for both people and also the economy to help our brothers out. How about that? So I would love for him to forgive 50,000. That'd be fine. If we have to fight for all of it to get ended and then meet in the middle and he compromises and does 50,000, that's a victory. So pull your heads out of your asses. Anyway, I digress. We're going to talk about, he actually extended the moratorium on student loan payments. I think that the Biden administration's rhetoric on how the economy's rebounded and there's all these jobs and everything is doing fine and he's doing an FDR-like job, they know that's bullshit. And if they make student loans go back in right now and people get angry enough, it might be the straw that breaks the camel's back in a way. It might be that igniter that gets people in the streets, and I don't think they want that. So I think they realize that, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, if we have all the students start repaying their student loans, the economy is going to tank even further, and they can't have that. That's why I think they did it. I don't think it has anything to do with morality. I don't think it has anything to do with them caring about young people. As Joe Biden has even said before, when he was asked, he has zero empathy for youngsters that have it rough nowadays. His words, not mine. Now, okay, so this is a minor victory. Don't believe anybody that says that it is a major victory. It's, again, just kind of extending the time on the ticking time bomb, right? Now, big picture, and this is what I really want you guys to take away from this. Why is he kicking the can down the road with student loan repayments, instead of just doing it across the board, wiping the slate clean for an entire generation of Americans? The answer is this, and I briefly touched on this during the INN's student loan boycott marathon, which was on my channel, you should go check it out, is that the student loan repayments, in a way, that hundreds of dollars that a lot of these educated people that went out and got a college degree, that in a way kind of enslaves them financially to their jobs and to the market. You can't quit your job or go out and do something that you actually want to do or make savings. You can't do anything if you have those student loans. You can't go buy a house. It's hard to even get financing for like a new car. So what this does is similar to what like not raising the minimum wage does for people that are the working poor is that it makes sure that even the educated people in this country can never get ahead. And why is that important for the elites to do to us, the proletariat? Why is it important? If they keep the bottom 90% that are basically working paycheck to paycheck, that are struggling like crazy through COVID, if they keep you fearful about things and divided, then they will be able to continue to conquer us and keep us enslaved. So it doesn't pay for them to free up 45 million Americans by freeing them up from their student loans, because then those people will no longer be afraid, they will not be controllable, and they might go out and do something like, I don't know, start up a small business on the side. They might go out and unite with their fellow working class and get a revolution going, for instance. It pays to keep everybody that they can, everybody that the elites possibly can, working paycheck to paycheck, and that includes college students. So all of these things, like the eviction moratorium getting extended, but not permanently, ending the child tax credits, which that's happening too. And they'll say that's Joe Manchin's fault, but I know Joe Biden and all the other neolibs are perfectly fine with that. All of these things are designed to keep people fearful, keep people divided, and to keep them going back to them jobs, as George Carlin used to say. It keeps you, if you don't give people the child tax credit, it forces them back to work. If you end the eviction moratorium, it forces them to go out and get a job so that they can afford a place to live. If you cut benefits, it forces people to go back into the workplace because they have to make up extra money to buy food. If you forgive student loans, that's going to get a lot of people out of the workforce on jobs that they keep because they simply need the money to pay off that $300 a month for their student loans. So all of this is designed to do three things: push us back into the workforce, keep us fearful, and keep us divided. And largely a lot of the vaccine rhetoric, vaccinated versus unvaccinated, and the demonization of the unvaccinated is largely to divide and keep us fearful of each other. The ending of the child tax credit, the ending of student loans, they kick the can down the road so that they can keep college people who really don't have any money right now fearful that they will have their student loans kicked back in. So it's trying to force them back into a job that maybe they don't want. I feel this. I'm being forced back into a job I really don't want to do. But, I've run out of money. What am I supposed to do? And my child tax credit is about to be expiring. So these are some things that, me personally, I feel exactly what's happening. I feel like everybody's being suffocated that already lost their jobs or had to quit their jobs because of COVID, or if they're young because they haven't been able to get a job, because even college graduates who are Gen Z have like only a 50% chance of getting out of college and having a job lined up. I feel like this is all a gambit that the Biden administration is playing to try to force people back to work while simultaneously keeping them very, very fearful. And if you were to, in fact, extend the eviction moratorium permanently, no, that makes it too easy on the proletariat. It makes it too easy for them to maintain a roof over their heads. The child tax credit, if you were to give that permanently, it makes the proletariat too enabled, because then they can go out and buy food for their kids with that child tax credit stuff. We can't have that. They need to be going back to their jobs. They'll do the same thing with student loans. They're going to hold it over our heads to keep us fearful forever, to force us back into a workforce in the middle of a deadly pandemic that Joe Biden has done nothing to quell. So that's the big picture here, guys. This is not a victory. I will hand it to the people that have been trying to force this. I don't know if, for instance, our student loan boycott summit, which was extremely effective for how small of a network we are, and extremely popular, by the way, for how we got a ton of views on that, for how small of a network we are at the INN, Indie News Network. I don't know if it was us, but there were a lot more people than that bitching about this. So I think that, is there a possibility that we put the pressure on Biden and he did this because he knew how angry we all were? Yeah, I think that there is a possibility. But here's the thing. We have to maintain our anger. We have to keep yelling at him, otherwise he won't do it. So if we can be as angry as we are now about this and he extends it 3 months, how angry do we have to be for him to forgive it? a lot angrier than we are now. So, you know me. I'm all about political fight club. If you're angry about any of these things, about feeling downtrodden, about the Biden administration screwing you over, and you're part of the working poor or the middle class, get on here and help us out. Join us. Do your own show. It doesn't have to be like mine. You don't even have to do your own show. Get online and try to do activism and organize people to get angrier. Let's get angrier. The angrier we get, the more likely we are to force Joe Biden to use executive orders. And that's the only play we have. It's the only play we have now. Build Back Better's dead. There will be no... Anybody that tells you there's another bill going to be introduced next year that they'll actually pass before the majority gets lost in 2022, they're out of their minds. They're lying. They're gaslighting you. This was the last chance. There will be no more bills unless, of course, they're Republican written. And that scares me even more than no bills at all being passed, quite frankly. So there is no more options. We have to press Joe Biden and Joe Biden alone to do executive orders. And that's... I've gone over those numerous times. Student loan forgiveness is one of those things that he can do unilaterally. He can also give Medicare for all using Section 1881 Alpha of the Social Security Act. You know, he uses the Higher Education Act of 1965, Section 432 Alpha, to forgive all student loans. He can do that. He can remove marijuana as a Schedule I drug, legalizing it across the board. He can pardon Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, all the whistleblowers, and drop all charges. He can do that unilaterally. He can do a bevy of different things. I'm beating a dead horse here. So he needs to be forced to do some of these things, and this is the only way to do it, is to put him in a pressure cooker. Now, I don't know if Joe Biden is going to do any of them. Methinks he probably will do none of them. But maybe we'll get $10,000 forgiven or $50,000 forgiven. Perhaps, you know, the other ones are very, very difficult. I think that maybe he'll legalize marijuana, but I think it has to be basically... He has to have the pressure on, and he has to also be given the same argument you give other Republicans, like Joe Biden, even though he technically wears a blue tie to work, is you have to make it the argument for marijuana from like a conservative ideology, which is if you tax it, you can help the economy and you can help rebuild some of the infrastructure. Even Republican governors nowadays are starting to go, you know what? I'm starting to see that, you know, legalizing marijuana on a state level and then taxing it really helps a lot of new money come into my state. If the same argument can be made to Joe Biden, perhaps we can get weed legalized and then off of that, get the people that are in prison for non-violent weed offenses, get them out of prison and get their records expunged. Use that as a stepping stone. So, but that has to be the play, and I don't want to take anything away from anybody that has been fighting their asses off like me and the Indie News Network and everybody that joined together with us to do the Student Loan Boycott Summit. This is exactly what we need to do. And if it weren't for people like that actually raising their voices, you bet your bottom dollar that Joe Biden would have just let them expire February 1st. You bet your bottom dollar he would have. I believe that. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just kind of a crazy person in my basement, as you guys know. You don't have to listen to me if you don't want to, but I don't know. Some of you like to anyway. I love you guys. Keep fighting the good fight out there. I have a very interesting episode written for Rockfin later on today. It has to do with COVID, lockdowns, and a smear job by the neoliberal elites against anybody, including me, who cited data back in the day that we needed to do more of like a focused vaccination rollout rather than a blanket pseudo-authoritarian vaccine rollout, and it seems that it went up to the highest levels, including Fauci himself, was all about smearing a whole bunch of doctors that were originally not forcing the vaccine on people. That's an interesting one. I can't put that on YouTube. It'll be on Rockfin later. And then we will also do the next chapter of The Devil's Highway later today. Talk to you guys later. Keep fighting that good fight.